In America, we have more writers than readers now. You know, we have 130 readers left, but we have 74 million writers. So there's a huge imbalance, you know, so everyone has like 0.0000001 reader. We divide them up. Most of them live in Boston. So, with 74 million, is that right? 74 million writers, I think I said, right? And we have 80 here. So there are 73,999,934 left. And that's tragic. How do we leave so many writers behind? The program should be to bring each one of the 74 million writers into France, not just to visit, but to live permanently, to create a safe space for the American writer, because nobody wants us home, so this can be our new home. This would be a big repatriation program, but I think the French economy can handle it. No, it is interesting, because often it's very hard to cross the bridge into Brooklyn. So we have to fly to Paris to meet. The Brooklyn and Manhattan writers can meet in Paris. I don't have time to write. I spend 90 days a year traveling, begging people on my knees to buy my books. Please, just buy my book. So I don't have time to write. But the beautiful thing is when you have a certain, even small success in America, you don't have to write anymore because you can outsource your writing to India. So most of my books are written by Indians in Hyderabad. People sometimes say to me, they say, you know, it's interesting because, you know, it's a Russian novel, but you're eating curry. The girl you're in love is wearing a sari. Why? How could this be in Russia? But this is because it's all outsourced to this guy named Suketu in Hyderabad, who does most of my books. Globo, yes. Globo is a wonderful thing in Brazil. It comes in sugar and salty. It's a little, they say it's made with the wind, but I think it's made with a lot of sweat and love. It's very tasty, very crunchy, and it's this big crunch, and all of a sudden you remember what you're supposed to be writing. Yeah. So I sent some of this to Suketu in Hyderabad. So to just, I bet he's putting curry powder on it as we speak. Yes, Citibank says, Citibank can help you write your story. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I usually go to the bank when I need inspiration because they tell me, you have no money, and then I say, now I will write my own story. So Citibank is beautiful this way. Only in New York could this kind of stupid ad actually work. People think, wow, I should be a writer because Citibank tells me to be a writer. Yes, this is in Boston. This guy, and this happens to me all the time. I've signed iPhones, iPads, Kindles. I remember when I was young, Allen Ginsberg came to my college, and all the attractive men had to lift up their shirts and he would sign their stomachs. But nothing like this has happened to me yet. No, girls are asking me to sign their stomachs. Just their iPads. Yes, I'm hugging a lot of books. Well, no. This is not me. This is my the Indian guy. Yeah, he also hugs books for me. Even that is outsourced. Yeah, look at the circles under his eyes. God, it's frightening. It's a terrible life. Horrible. Mwah, mwah, I love you, Nabokov. Yes, he taught in Cornell for a long time. It's a university in upstate New York. And he was great. Apparently the story is, there's many stories about him. One story is a student comes up to him and says, Mr. Nabokov, I want to become a poet. And Nabokov says, points to a tree outside and says, what is this? And the guy said, well, it's a tree. And Nabokov said, you will never be a poet. That's how I think I approach my students as well. Yeah. You will never be a poet. Nabokov was very violent, and he kept beating up his students, sometimes with an umbrella, sometimes using his wife Vera to hit them with. It was a terrible thing. I am also very violent. I teach. I throw iPads at people. The writer is an angry person. This was incredible. I was trying to take a picture of Edward Albee, and all of a sudden, this light came, and he became this godlike presence. And he, and I heard in my ringing in my ears, it said, "Gary Shteyngart, you should not write any more books. You should just Twitter." And so I started to take that advice. He's so big compared to me. I mean, he was in a wheelchair. I'm not in a wheelchair yet, but it's still pretty amazing to see how huge he was. His wife, too, was monstrously large and very tanned looking. Yeah, well, they were good people. Eleanor was really cute. Yeah. Yes, I won a pig. This is the British prize, the Woodhouse Bollinger Everyman Prize. It's a very beautiful pig. So you win the pig and you win the champagne. So I drank the champagne immediately. But the pig, U.S. Customs won't allow me to bring the pig into the United States because it's part of the war on terrorism. They're very worried that this pig will explode. And, but so she lives in Wales, and I come to visit her every year, and just take a little bite of her. Slowly, I'm eating her to death. This was just a couple of days ago. I was in Madrid, so I'm hugging two pigs, sort of a ménage à trois with two pigs. This was taken on Rosh Hashanah too, which is terrible. Sheep are great. Yeah, there's some sheep. I spend half the year upstate New York, in the countryside. So these are the sheep near me. They eat grass. They're like lawnmowers. So I want to invite them to my property to eat my grass. And then I will eat them. I call that recycling of sheep. I love my Felix. So this is a long-haired dachshund. Is the best kind of dog in the world. He blew out the candles for me. It was my 40th birthday. Yeah. Goodbye, youth. Something happens on these shows, and now literature is just, some young man or woman writing whatever they think sounds, interesting about their toilet habits or their hairstyle, it's just endless. But on Breaking Bad, things happen. People die. People are born. And also, it's not set in New York or San Francisco. It's set somewhere in that middle of the country that we've flown over on the way to San Francisco, but we've never really seen. So Breaking Bad is a very important show. Mad Men is interesting, too, because it's a soap opera that just, you can't, it's addictive, And I can't remember the last time I was reading a book saying, oh my God, I got to rush home to read this book. Maybe a while back. Yeah. Because it's so nasty, I just can't wait to read more. But usually I like reading a book, I like looking at book covers more than I often like reading the books. Beautiful covers. Beautiful. For example, when I teach, I try to, one thing I notice, horrible dialogue often in books. Just, they write the way, not the way people speak, but the way they think writers should write. So literature is trapped in this horrible sphere of, too much of it is influenced by academia. We all teach, we all have these nice jobs at all these universities to get health care. So I think it's compulsory for young writers to actually look at these shows and write down some of this dialogue, see what it looks, see what real people, I'm talking about the good shows, The Sopranos, The Wire, Breaking Bad. I think some of these shows are better than almost anything that is written these days. Nobody needs literature. It's a luxury item, because nobody has time to read. Average American worker in this economy is exhausted, comes home after a 12-hour day. The last thing they're going to do is open up a book, but they still want narrative. They want to follow something, and that's when they turn on TV, and if they're in Breaking Bad, satisfies a lot of their craving for a story. and you can watch it passively. You don't have to. Anyway, you spend 12 hours a day reading text, reading emails. Jesus Christ, the last thing you want to do is read more text. When I write, I don't think I'm writing like a film, but I want things to happen. People fall in love. It's life, but it's not just a facsimile of life, which is not art. Just constantly trying to figure out what kind of sandwich to have. You add something interesting to it, and it helps to be from somewhere else. To be from another country. That's why some of the most interesting writing is by writers like Junot Diaz from the Dominican Republic, Jhumpal Ahiri from India. Because there's all the tension they bring to the page is very evident, and that's what's interesting. Well, I wanted my last book to be a kind of epitaph for literature, saying, okay, we did it, it's dead, let's just go watch TV now. But it survived, despite my making a beautiful gravestone for it. It keeps on going, As much as we complain about it, it just keeps living like a corpse of the undead. Literature. Obama's nice, yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting, though, if he doesn't win. For a satirist, it'll be amazing. As a citizen, it'll be horrible. But, oh boy, a Romney-Ryan presidency? I can go back to writing Absurdistan too, the sequel. Because when a satirist, you really win when stupidity and evil collide. And that's what you have in Romney. So it's very exciting if he wins. I think I will write another bestseller. Just as a writer. As a person, oh my God, it would be a tragedy for many millions of Americans. It would be a tragedy, but not for me. Everybody knows he's a jackass. Mitt Romney, jackass. Sometimes on television they introduce him and they say, on MTV they'll say, oh, this is Mitt Romney, jackass. And he'll say, yes, it's me. No, nobody's going to vote for him from our world. You know what he just said, the 47%, have you heard this? So I guess we are those losers. We are the 47%. I have blurbed everybody. A blurb is now an expectation with any book. My blurb is an expectation with any book published in America. So if there is no blurb for me, it's really a truly terrible book. I've blurbed over 3,000 books in the last month. Better than the New Testament, but just as funny.